Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Shoutout Podcast. I hope you had an enjoyable festive season and wishing you all an amazing 2024. This episode of the Shoutout Podcast is brought to you by JP Park and Banquets, where luxury meets inclusivity to create an unforgettable experience. Hi guys, I'm super excited for starting off this new year with a very special episode. Our guest today is someone who's making a name for herself. She's making Nagas proud, representing us on the biggest stages of them all. She, at such a young age, she's already achieved so much, and I'm confident that she's only on her way up. Welcome to the podcast, Andrea Kevichüsa.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, so we finally made it. We've actually tried to make this work like quite a few times, right, in the past.
Yeah.
And obviously due to your super busy schedule with your successful
I
career.
don't come home enough.
Yeah. So how was your break, the short stint that you had right now?
Very busy visiting family and doing all the household chores that I miss out on when I'm not home. But it's been good. I'm here for a few more days and then I'm going back to work.
And this is like how long has it been since you last came? Yeah.
Been a couple of months. I think I came summer last year.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know when I'll be back home again.
Okay. It gets bigger and bigger, the career, I guess. So we have a lot of things to talk about. I'm looking forward to the conversation. Let's start off with the shoutouts. You know what this is about. Yeah. I'll give my shoutout and then you can follow up with your own. Okay. So my shoutout for this episode goes out to the recently held Hypersound event. A big congratulations to, Elmer Ventures and all the other partners who were involved in doing this event. I was super impressed with the way they pulled it off. And I was shocked also at the 9,000 plus, reported 9,000 plus turnout. And very proud of our local artists who held their own, performing with Sean Kingston. And so a big shout out to all of them. Congratulations and looking forward to many more stuff like that.
My shout out goes to Nagaland Tribune, which is an independent media house that's based in Kohima. They're quite new, but they've been doing a commendable job bringing stories and news from all over the state to the forefront. So that's my shout out.
Okay. I think I know who that is, but let's start with like I told you when we start a conversation or the podcast, we always start off like way back, so like childhood. And that lets the audience, and I think in your case, a lot of people will be even more keen on this part, like how you grew up, how were you as a kid, and, how the journey into where you are eventually. But why don't you just share with us a little bit about your childhood? How was it growing up? Where did you study? Those kind of stuff.
Actually, I had a quite uneventful childhood.
Okay.
I was born and brought up in Kohima. And I'm from a very big family. I have 4 older sisters. And I went to LFS, which I think everyone must know. Yeah, so always surrounded by women. It's an all-girls school for those who don't know. So yeah, I was in Kohima, and then for my 11th and 12th, I moved to Shillong. But by then, I was already working part-time. So in and out of Mumbai and like wherever I would have shoots all over the country. Actually, when I was younger, I wanted to be a doctor.
Okay.
So yeah, that was something that I was like
younger, like how, like what kind of age?
I made up my mind to be a doctor when I was just like 5 or 6 years old. So yeah, I was too young to be making career decisions.
I think so. That's like my son's age.
But yeah, I was very adamant and but life had other plans for me.
Yeah. So you were moving very fast. Let me pull you back a little bit because we're definitely going to talk about like, your work, your career and all that happened at a very early age. But what else like about your childhood? We had this talk some time back and you were saying that It was not planned at all. Besides the doctor thing, when you grew up a little bit before the modeling thing happened and all, what were you actually thinking? Like, was there, or were your parents like guiding you towards some type of career thing, or was anything going on before that?
So, when I was in school, I was a decent student. So, my parents never really had to guide me in any direction because I always knew what I wanted.
And what is still the doctor thing?
Yeah,
okay,
no, not anymore. But
yeah,
I really wanted to do that. And I never really got into trouble or any of that sort. So in that sense, I was like a pretty independent kid. But we were always on the same page, even when it came to my career eventually, in my teenage years, because at first we were all apprehensive about it.
For sure.
Yeah, because it was very, out of nowhere. And then eventually we started warming up to the idea. And then, eventually they encouraged me to reach out further.
That's so nice.
Things. Yeah.
So, I'll pull you back a little bit. And because like so many others, I'm sure who are watching, I'm also very curious about how it, the whole story began and all. So you told me a little bit about it, but like just sort of story tell about how this whole thing unfolded, about you getting into the modeling, the people contacting you and such, at what age you were and all that.
So this happened when I was 15. So I was in class 10. And I remember I was preparing for my selection exams. And obviously then I had already had some exposure to, like the modeling world. I mean, I didn't know too much. I knew that there were magazines like Vogue and Harper's Bazaar and things like that. But that was the extent of my knowledge.
Okay.
And I didn't know that there were things like modeling agencies, and I didn't know that models got to travel all over the world. So, when I was 15, there was a modeling agency in Mumbai. I'm still signed with them. They're my mother agency.
Okay.
So they're called Anima Creatives, and they reached out to me on social media. They had seen a photo of mine.
Okay.
Just a really random photo.
Yeah,
actually,
we're gonna put that up for sure.
No. But actually, I don't know what they saw in me, because when I was growing up, I was I still am tall and like very, like I was always skinny and like I used to wear huge glasses. So I don't know what potential they saw in me, but they saw it.
Okay.
And then they asked me if I was interested. And at the time, obviously, I said no. And then when I turned 16, I started doing more like shoots because some people got to me.
Where were you? 16?
At the time, I was
Shillong?
in Shillong. Yeah,
Okay,
I was in my 11th and 12th. So that's when I started doing a few shoots. And then, I don't know, it was very sweet of them. They made a trip to Kohima, actually.
These
the
people, the
directors,
Anima Creatives. Okay.
Yeah, the directors, they're husband and wife, and they were both models.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, they came to Kohima to meet my parents and I, and to really give us the lowdown, because I think they had an inkling that we didn't know how it actually worked.
Yeah. So
we talked about it, and after like further deliberation, we decided, like part-time wouldn't be too bad. So 11th and 12th, I was with them. So every winter or summer break, I would fly down to Mumbai or, spend my breaks there. I would go to wherever I had shoots, and I would have to come back to school, to hostel. And then it was when I turned 18 that I thought, maybe give it a good real shot.
Yeah.
So,
like a proper career.
So I took a gap year then.
Okay.
And then I moved to Mumbai full time.
So during this sort of that transition, when you were, like you said, 11 and 12, you were in and out, you were, what was the sort of the reaction or the feedback from, like you said a little bit about how your parents eventually ended up encouraging you to take it and pushing you also, but like besides the inner circle, like how was the response, or did you hear anything from like how people were talking about something like this, which not to say that you're the first model, obviously there were models before, but it is still a very new sort of, career path kind of thing. And you at such a young age to be doing that,
I think I had both negative and positive comments.
Yeah,
at
I'm
me.
sure.
Yeah, but I know that even the negative ones were coming from a place of concern because I was so young, and I started too young, and I don't think I'm not aware of any models where we come from who started at that age. So yeah, coming from a place of concern, but all in all, it was all just people being very encouraging, because I think I when it came to modeling, I saw like it was quite successful for me from the beginning.
From the beginning.
Yeah. So there was no one just telling me, you shouldn't dream about these things. They're too far out of reach for you. It wasn't anything like that.
Was you already doing it actually?
Yeah, I was already doing it. So in that sense, no one could really stop me from doing the thing that I loved, basically. So like that.
Okay. And your parents coming on board, family coming on board, like, during, like when you actually went decided to go full time into it, what was like, how was that, like?
So even when I was in school, even after I started modeling, I was still thinking of going to medical school and things like that, which I know at this age, it sounds absurd because it's impossible to do both.
But it was still there in the back of your head.
Yeah, in the back of my head. Yeah, it was always an itch I couldn't scratch. So that happened. And then, but when the initial plan was to take a gap year and then go back to college. But after I'd moved to Mumbai, after a couple of months, I got casted in the film.
Right.
Yeah, and at the time I was 18. Yeah. So at the time I was 18. So I didn't have much time to really take the time and space to rethink. Yeah, but after that, after I'd started training for the film and things like that, I took a 2-year gap from working as a model. Like I was on a complete hiatus. So eventually, I got back to doing my education. I'm doing my bachelor's now. So yeah, that's something I'm very proud of.
Okay. And you said you're about to finish that, right?
Yes.
This year? Should be done with that?
This year.
And do you have plans to
pursue further? Yes, definitely doing my master's in English literature.
Okay, nice. So yeah, definitely we're going to come to the whole Bollywood part of it also. But that 1 year must have been super hectic then when you said like, you decided to take a gap year and go full time and try, just give it a shot, right? How was that? Because that's when you sort of, were you staying alone? Did you have family? So how was the whole experience? Big city, Mumbai, like.
It was very intimidating because at the end of the day, I'm like the youngest in my family, like, very like in a bubble. I grew up like that. So I had to grow up quite fast in that sense, having to travel to all these cities all alone. And when I moved to Mumbai, also, looking for apartments by myself and like doing all those things, it was quite a challenge. But, eventually you just have to, no one else is going to do it for you. You have to do it yourself. So you have to grow up. So that happened. And then.
How was the work? Like, like workload? Were you getting like, a lot of shoots?
Yeah. When I went to Mumbai, it was good. Like I was doing good work. And so that's why I was like kind of thinking of furthering my career internationally as well. Okay. That's when, I was starting to have all those thoughts. But eventually, I was given the opportunity to act. And so that kind of took the back seat. And yeah, so that I gave my like 2 years of, my time and like training and things like that to the film. And finally.
Let's get to that. Let's get to that since it's been brought up like 1 or 2 times. How, because that is, I think like, obviously I know your family, we know you guys and all, but like, I think a lot of people really knew you like after the movie, obviously, right? That was the big sort of thing. A lot of people did know you, because you were modeling outside, but I think the movie thing was the one that sort of catapulted you to the next level, right? So how did that, I'm very curious about how, that whole process happened, how they reached out to you and, just sort of shed some light on that. I'm sure people would be interested in this.
Yeah, actually it's so funny, like how social media plays such a huge role in our lives now, because obviously when I was growing up, it wasn't what it is now. Like I started modeling because of social media, because they had seen a photo of mine.
Right.
And similarly, even with the film, the director of the film, I think the script was already pretty much ready. Okay. So they had the character and like the entire plot of the film, the character arc in mind. And he came across a photo of mine. Also, like he was Googling about something and then he came across my photo and he thought that I would be a good fit for the film.
Okay.
Yeah. So then I was a few months into living in Mumbai alone at the time. So they reached out and obviously they were quite I don't think they wanted to divulge too much information, at the time. So I didn't know that it was going to be a good role. Because it's quite common for models to have roles in films, and that was something that I was quite excited to do, just to
the
have
cameo kind.
Yeah, one or two day shoots and then come back home. But I went to the office and they told me, they were making a film that's based on the Northeast, and they wanted me to play the female lead. So it was quite a shock at the time. But and at first, again, I've never acted before. I had no formal training or anything like that. But by then, obviously, because I've been working as a model for some time, I've become quite comfortable in front of the camera.
Right.
So, and I just felt like it was too big of an opportunity to pass, So eventually I came around to the idea, and it was a lot of hard work.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I had to take a lot of classes, and the sole reason that I moved to Mumbai was to model. And that was something I couldn't do anymore. So, and I think there was a reason behind that as well, because they wanted me to be a little underground while they were, making the film.
Okay. So you said 2 hours, 2 years was what you sort of gave for the movie, right? Can you sort of break that down, like the practice, the rehearsing, the actual shooting, and the after work?
So I think it was the end of 2019 that I got casted. So at that time I was 18. And immediately I started my boxing training, and I had to do all those things. It was very strenuous. And then 2020, obviously pandemic. So everyone was out of work. And then by the end of 2020, again, I had to work on my Hindi, the dialogues, and then I had to learn how to ride a bike. Because in a few scenes I'm riding a bike, and they wanted me to really perfect that. And I had action training to make the fights look real. So every single day was packed with something or the other, and then I would have meetings at the office, regarding the script and things like that. So that's how just 2 years.
So I'm sure, because I've seen the movie, and then you're doing a lot of things which you said that I'm pretty sure were your first times, learning to ride a bike, then boxing, fighting, all these things, acting itself also, right? So which was, and Hindi, how was your Hindi before that?
No comment.
Okay. I won't go any further then. But which was the most challenging aspect of, this project of Anek?
It would definitely be the working out, and because I've never been the most active person, and I've said this before, but the one kid that's always fainting in the school assembly, that was me. Okay? I was always the back of the line because I was too tall and I would always faint. So working out was, it wasn't so much the working out aspect, but just having to, I had to go to the gym twice every single day. So that,
twice a day.
Yeah. Eventually I started to really like it, but in the beginning, when you're just breaking out of your comfort zone, it's quite an ordeal.
I'm sure.
So that was quite difficult, but eventually I started to really like it, and I continued doing it even after the film for a while.
So you're
for a while, full stop. No more questions.
But then you did, we were talking about this earlier, about the high metabolism and all.
Yes.
I'm sure a lot of people would,
have misconception.
Misconception that, she starves herself, that you were saying, but like me also, we like to eat, and luckily we don't get, fat so fast,
Actually, it's not so much of a misconception, because I know that it does happen. And it's very sad that the industry standards are like that. And I know that people struggle a lot, and sometimes for the entire lives. So I don't want to say, that it's anything less than it actually is. But for me personally, I've always been on the lower side of the scale, and I've never struggled with weight. And in fact, I've struggled with gaining weight actually. So yeah.
Same here. So like I said, lucky you get to be in that field or that career where being sort of, the standards that are there, have to be met. So a lot of people do struggle. And it's not, I don't think it's actually not a myth or anything. People are aware of, the unfortunate situations that the industry is involved in that sense, but it is what it is. So, onwards with the movie. Okay, before that, I want to ask you something, because I was asking you about, you said you're still signed to Anima Creatives, right? They're the mother agency.
Yes.
So can you sort of break down how your career is like sort of structured? Who are the people involved behind, or you don't have to name names, but like, what roles do people play? And
Right. So a mother agency is the agency that you're signed to in your home country, or, wherever it is.
Okay.
It's your first agency basically, and they work as your main manager, and they work towards, booking you your jobs and arranging. Test shoots are basically unpaid shoots that are just solely there to be on your portfolio, to make it, like more. And they work towards connecting you to other agencies abroad, and they're basically the hub in your home country. So that they're my mother agency. And for a model, when you sign on to an agency, initially you're mainly going to be doing test shoots to make sure, you have a good portfolio to be able to send out to clients. If they want to book you for jobs or, for ads or whatever it may be. And eventually you start to like venture out to other agencies abroad and get to travel, they're like, in Europe, you have the fashion weeks. Even in New York, you have the fashion weeks, and all these like fashion capitals are there. So
is this all going through the mother agency? It has to?
Yeah, it has to. They are the ones that, get you in contact. And when you're in the country that you're signed to, the agency that's there, they take care of everything else. They're the ones that book you jobs and they,
Okay. And what about because I'm sure this is pretty much a modeling agency, right? Anima Creators?
Yes.
Okay. So then when you got into the movie part of it, did you have like some other, people managers sort of roles?
So they take care of anything under media, basically.
Okay. So not just modeling.
Yeah, anything media and print, basically, they look after.
Yeah. Because I was curious, because when you said, when the movie offer came in and you have to go have meetings and all, at that age, I'm thinking like, if you didn't have proper representation, how that process must have been very intimidating. And, so
it was
were they
intimidating,
like, I'm sure.
There,
but they were there representing you?
They were there, yeah.
Okay. So that made it
a lot smoother.
Yeah. And so I'm sure the relationship has been good because you're still,
it's been 7 years now.
Yeah. When you were, I won't get into the age thing, but like I said in the intro, it's such a nice thing to see a young Naga. You were saying you're not young, but let's not go there. But a young Naga doing so well in whatever field that they're doing, and we have very few ambassadors. So I'm very happy that you're one of them, and you're also here sitting and having a discussion with me.
Yeah.
A small topic sort of that I wanted to touch on in relation with the movie. So like after the movie was done, we are, I think a lot of people are aware of the responsibilities of, what an actor or actress must do to promote their film and all the, boxes they have to tick and all that, right? So how was that aspect of it and, doing all the PR duties and sort of like the pastry life for that period, and because it was a big actor that you were working with and stuff like that. So just
a little bit.
A little bit about that.
So once the trailer drops and you're doing all the PR for the film, you have like your dates are completely blocked with interviews from morning to evening, and you're doing like them back to back. I don't know how they do it because for them it's a lifestyle. For me, it was like the first time, and I haven't done it since.
Yeah.
So it was, I don't know how to do it, but it's just like that back to back, and you get to travel around a lot also. Like,
okay, sorry to cut you off. Just the first thing, like how long was the process? Like you said from the trailer dropping to, so how long did it take?
I think, I don't remember precisely, but for me it was a couple of days.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was between Mumbai and Delhi.
Okay.
And also we had to go on like, shows and things like that.
Yeah.
So it was doing all that. Obviously, for me personally, I'm not just representing myself, right? I'm representing my community as well when I'm on it. So I have to be very careful of the way I present myself.
100%.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing, like with representation, because the moment you misrepresent where you come from, it's like, because your culture is basically a part of who you are, it's integral to you. So you're basically misrepresenting everything else that, that comes along with it. So in that sense, I had to be very careful. But all in all, I think it was a very good chapter in my life, you know, and obviously like after the film, winning the Filmfare Award, was definitely like the cherry on top.
Yeah, that, like, congratulations once again. You know, that was such a big deal. And it was like a whirlwind of everything happening, right? Like you shifted to Mumbai, you started modeling, then this movie offer comes in.
Yeah, it was quite swift, the transition.
Yeah, and then suddenly you're there winning. What was it? Filmfare Award for Best Debut. Yeah. So like, congrats on that. How was that whole experience? Like, you know, with all the other big stars and all that.
You know what? I always thought that people knew that they're going to win beforehand.
Or you actually don't know?
I didn't know. Okay. I didn't have, because if I had known, I would have prepared myself better or something. But I just went there and it was just my manager and I. And we were there. Yeah, anyway, we were there and, you know, obviously in these like Bollywood like shows, you have a lot of
the big names.
Item numbers and like, you know, so I was there to have like a good time. You know, and obviously I did have a good time. It was a very fun evening. And eventually when they got to like my category, and the thing is the other people on my category are like very big names. So I was not expecting to win at all. But yeah, they eventually called out my name and I had to go on stage. And yeah, how
shocked were you? Like
I was like, it was like a fever dream because I could not process what happened even after I got home. And on top of that, they gave me a car.
Yeah.
They gave me a car. So yeah, very sweet of them. So it was very nice. And I said what I genuinely felt. And I I dedicated the award to the people back home.
Right.
Yeah. And then, that was that.
So, we talked a little bit about this and about like how after that one movie, it was like a one and done kind of thing. That was what you were thinking initially, right? And so when you move past that, you go back into modeling. Tell us a little bit about, you know, I don't think people understand the level of like, you know, work that you're doing. I've heard from like some inside sources and all, but like, you know, it's very commendable and like, obviously since it's not such a thing that people are aware about, like the modeling world and I think I'd like you to just like, just tell me and the audience obviously about like what it is you're doing, what are kind of some of the highlights of your, just the recent, you know, work that you've done.
Actually,
I know a few, but
I want to go back to the beginning of that sentence. The reason that I made the decision to stop was because, like I said, 2 years of my time, and I could not do any modeling at the time. So you know, it was a quite long of a hiatus also. So that's why I decided to, you know, like really concentrate on this career as well as my education. And now I'm still currently doing that. And I got to travel to the, you know, the different countries that I'm signed to and, you know, really venture out in that way. So yeah, it's been a very good ride because I got to work Milan Fashion Week, which is a huge,
that's huge
deal for me. And the next stop is New York. Hopefully there are good things in store there as well.
I'm sure. And I don't know how much you can disclose, but what about the Korea thing?
Oh, yes.
It's coming out soon.
Yeah. I was recently a part of a small project, and it involves a few international faces as well. I was like literally pinching myself when I got that job because I was so excited. So it should be coming out soon by next month, I think.
Okay.
So yeah, that's something I'm looking forward to.
I mean, I don't think you're like doing it so well in the sense that, you know, I asked you earlier, please be comfortable in, you know, talking about your achievements because I think it's very important. I keep saying this on the show that like we need to acknowledge and appreciate each other when we're still around and not after it's, you know, all said and done, you know, like, so since you are a little shy about that, I'll let it be, but, the things that you're doing, we're very proud of you. And like I said, I hope it gets bigger.
Yeah.
Tell me, what's your current situation right now? Like you are...
We can talk about Cannes if you want.
Oh, yeah, please. Okay.
Yeah.
That is big, so yeah.
Yeah. So
how did that come about, all that?
Yeah. So the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, basically, they wanted to concentrate on the Northeast region for the past year, actually.
Okay.
And they wanted to really sell the Northeast as a film destination and as a sector. So they decided to take 2 people from every state. So I was one of them. And among the delegates, they were mostly like very seasoned documentary and filmmakers.
Okay.
And there were just 2 actors, Milo Sunka from Arunachal Pradesh and myself.
Okay.
So we went as a big group and we had a lot of fun. We were there for about a week, and yeah, again, right in between my exams, but luckily, you know, I got the time to be able to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a very good experience because I got to represent again.
Yes.
Yeah, represent Nagaland. While of course, the other filmmakers were doing what they were supposed to do, which is like network and things like that.
What were you guys doing?
Yeah, I was on the red carpet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was doing my due diligence also.
Of course, yeah. Starstruck moments.
Definitely. Okay, so I'll get into that. So have you watched the film The Killers of the Flower Moon? Martin Scorsese.
No, I've seen the thing, but I haven't watched it. Yeah.
So right when I was about to enter, you know, like they were, I was in a different screening, and they were screening that before us.
Okay.
So I saw the entire cast, like Martin Scorsese and like Leonardo DiCaprio and like Robert De Niro, everyone, you know, walk out. So I was like, and I was alone again. I was alone at the time. So I was like very starstruck, couldn't take any pictures. And the screening that I was a part of was called, that I attended, was called May December.
Okay.
So it had Natalie Portman and, you know, Julianne Moore. So to be in the same room as those people was like, because I've grown up watching them, you know, I've grown up watching their films and, you know, I know all about their work. So it was a very, yeah, definitely starstruck.
Yeah. This was sort of sponsored by the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting.
Yes.
So it was like a free role that you just got to go and enjoy.
Yeah.
That's such a nice thing. Coming back to, like you said, initially you thought you were one and done with Anek, like with the movie thing, and you wanted to focus on modeling. But our last conversation, you sort of said that you are exploring. What's your current, status right now regarding getting back into acting and that field?
Yeah, I think because the past year I've just been traveling for work. I think now I'm more like open to the idea.
Okay.
And there are things in the pipeline, but again, can't talk too much about that.
Yeah,
but,
for sure.
It's difficult for people that look like us in the mainstream. I think when it comes to representation, I always say that in modeling, I entered at the right time because obviously there were models before me that were from Nagaland and from other states in the Northeast. And so I entered at a time when diversity was already open, like people were embracing different faces and different skin tones. But when it comes to the film industry, I feel like even though there's been a lot of improvement, I think there's still a long way to go because there are a lot of roles, though there are ample roles, I think that they're very under-researched and, very stereotypical, like what you're talking about. And so I just don't want to, be pigeonholed into,
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's definitely a point of contention for me.
Exactly. So that's what I mean, you have rejected a few offers.
I wouldn't say rejected.
No, I mean, not rejected, but like you've passed on, and because of that fact that they were too stereotypical, they just wanted that.
Yeah, because the characters are very one-dimensional.
Exactly.
The only thing that's going on for them is that they're from the Northeast.
Exactly. They have that look.
Yeah, and they're just for the convenience of the plot to keep it moving forward. They don't actually have, anything else going on. So
yes. So that's why it's nice that you do think about these things and have, not rejected, but passed on and not accepted these offers where you could have just earned some extra money and, so I like that you do think about this because we are going to get into representation. You've already touched on it a little bit, but for a young, I will keep saying young, calling you young, but for a young lady to be getting these offers, and I would say a lot of people would be sort of tempted to just go and make that extra money, and so good job. I'm very happy that you did. But getting back into now that you're exploring, open to it again, what are some kind of, I'm sure substantial roles, roles of substance and all that, but like, what are some of the, say like your fantasy roles that you'd want to be like acting as?
I feel like I would love to do any role that doesn't have, I mean, I think it's really important to embrace, where we come from and our culture. But I would love to play a role where that's not one of the central factors.
Exactly.
Where I'm like, say, like, if it's like a love story or like a romance film where my ethnicity doesn't really come into play, which, I think that would be definitely a step forward in that sense, yeah.
Do you think you can pull off comedy?
Am I funny? I don't know.
I think you have this like goofy kind of thing.
I don't. I've been called goofy a lot, but I don't know if
like in a good way.
like
in a good way. In a good way. Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about your what's the balance between or your priority when it comes to like modeling, acting, and sort of your studies also? Where everything on that scale?
Yeah, prioritizing modeling, but also. I don't know, because when I gave studying, like my education a break, it was very difficult because, again, because all your friends are going to college and, they're doing all those things and you're a little set back in that sense. So it was something that I actually really wanted to pursue. So I think education is definitely coming second.
Okay.
I think it's really important to be like a well-rounded person at this time, because now even in the modeling industry, just being pretty doesn't get you a meal ticket, you have to be many other things. And obviously, you want to keep the brain juice flowing.
Yeah, definitely.
As well. And again, like with acting, I think if and when the opportunity arises and, it's a good goal, why not?
It's nice when you say that, to be someone that's well-rounded and be someone of substance. And when we first discussed about, the potential of having you on the podcast and when you were open for it, I was very happy. And I was thinking it'd be nice if you'd be portrayed in another, not just the Barbie girl, kind of, boxing that you get pigeonholed into because you're a model or things like that. So it's nice. I mean, it's a great privilege for me actually that you're here. It's going to be a very good thing for my podcast, but I think it's a nice look for you also. We'll get into some stuff that are a little deeper and veer away from your career and all. When I asked you, what are some of the things that you want to talk about or some of the things that are dear to you or vocal about, you mentioned something that I found, I won't say I wasn't shocked, but that was not what I was expecting, which was, you said your religion, your faith, your journey through it and all. So why don't you just share with us a little bit about what's going on with that sphere of, your life?
Well, I think in the past year or so, in the past 2 years, this has been a huge personal achievement for me because it's something that I put a conscious effort towards every single day. I grew up a very regular Christian, only going to Sunday school, going to church.
Right.
But making the real bond and connection to God was something that I didn't have. And that's something that I've been working towards still. It's a work in progress. And I feel like that's something that has really helped me ground myself. Because in this industry, even when it comes to modeling or acting, it's very important. It's very easy to be swayed away with the glamorous side or with the negativity, because you get a lot of things thrown at you at the same time.
I'm sure.
So I needed, and it's kind of sad. This is something that I carried a lot of guilt about because looking for, like a way out at your lowest points. And for me, that was God.
Okay.
So I carried a lot of guilt because I was questioning myself on why I was doing this only at the lowest point.
The lowest point, right.
Yeah. And also, I've gone through, I think, like multiple tumultuous times in my life as well, losing loved ones and things like that. So, but eventually I came around to the idea that I think any excuse to recenter God in your life is good enough a reason, to build that relationship with Him. So, and like I said, it's really important to have yourself rooted and not just with religion, but with your family, you know, good friends,
right,
to make sure that no matter what people say or, you know, whatever negativity is around you, you are above that. You know your worth. And I think even before that, even like right when I started modeling, I think I've always known my worth, but it was just that it eventually gets to you after a certain point.
I'm sure. I'm sure. Like,
in that sense, again, I think I had to develop a thick skin from a young age. You know, getting all those hate comments and like, you know, people messaging saying really weird things. So in that sense, I had to develop a thick skin. But at the end of the day, you know, even constructive criticism is criticism, and it's hard to hear bad things about yourself, you know, no matter what and whoever it may be coming from.
Right.
So I feel like in that sense, religion and, you know, finding God has really helped me, because once that happens, it really puts things into perspective. You know, you realize that it's really not that important in your life, you know, like you don't have to take yourself too seriously. I think it's really important to take the world, you know, your work seriously, but I think it's dangerous.
It's much bigger, you know.
Yeah, it's dangerous to take yourself too seriously and, you know, thinking that what you're doing is like, you're the only person in the world who can, you know, achieve these things. So in that sense, I think God has really helped me. And like I said, work in progress. Every day is a step towards that. So
I mean, and that's sweeter, right? When it's not just automatic and just very easy, but when it's a challenge, whatever it is, whether it's like your journey to where you're trying to get, you know, between for your relationship with God, and like you're saying, it's a work in progress. It's always sweeter when there's challenges and it's harder, and like, you know, what is like winning something without exactly. So you said at your lowest, when was this? Like, I won't get, you know, make you answer like why, but like, you know, around when was this? And
I think I would say maybe like 2021, 2022.
Okay, so very recent.
Yeah,
okay.
Quite recent. I lost a loved one, you know, or actually like many loved ones. And at the same time, quite overwhelmed with the release of the film and things like that. Although, you know, I have so much gratitude for it still.
Of course.
It can get overwhelming, especially for someone like me who's very comfortable in their own space and in their own bubble. So I think that was a very challenging time in my life. But yeah, like I said, finding God really helped. And I don't know if there's one piece, because I always get asked this question of, you know, if I have any advice for people out there, you know, who are experiencing the same thing. But for me, like personally, it has always been finding God. That is something that has really pulled me through very difficult times. Yeah.
I think what you just said earlier about you know, it's don't take yourself too serious. I'm also of that view, you know, like I'm not like a super religious person, but I do at least think of myself as a spiritual person, you know, and have my own relation. But besides that, like the point about not taking oneself too seriously, and that, you know, it's a much bigger picture if you, you know, step back and look at, you know, it's not just about the career, it's not just about our wants and needs, and you know, so if you just zoom out a little bit, and you will realize that, you know, it's so much bigger. There's so much.
There are many other things going on.
Exactly.
Actually, it's important to take, you know, like, there's always going to be someone that's better at you at your job, no matter what it is. But it doesn't mean that you don't have to, you know, try a little less just because of that fact. You know, you still have to put in your best. And that's something that I've always done, you know, in any sphere. But again, just live in reality, basically. You know, don't be in like a delusional.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously not like encouraging people to like get laid back and like, you know, don't take your work seriously. But
put
it's
in
not the end of the world, you know. That's kind of the
exactly.
message that
put in your 100%, I think, in whatever you do. But just, you know, be rooted. I think that's where it comes. Like, be rooted to your family, be rooted to something, you know. Yeah.
And I think just talk a little bit about like family, like how that bond is, I mean, I can sense like all the girls, you know, like, you know, so like, how's that? How's like growing up with a family like that? Like, you know, lots of girls.
So youngest.
Your relationship,
youngest of 5 girls.
Right.
Coming from a big family, you know, obviously I have 4 older sisters, so the age gap is quite significant between us. And that's when my decision to, I mean, at that young age to become a doctor actually came into play, because when I was in school, when I was younger, I used to notice that a lot of my classmates' parents were a lot younger than my parents. And that's one of the reasons that I wanted to become a doctor, because, you know, like I knew that when I would be older, my parents would be significantly older. So I wanted to like take care of them.
Take care of them.
Yeah, I was a very noble child. I don't know where that nobility went, but yeah, that was the main reason behind that. But talking about my family, I owe them a lot. I think I wouldn't be the person that I am today, or I wouldn't be where I am today without their help, and you know, without them guiding me also in many ways.
Yeah, I was curious about that. Like how much of like, I won't say like interfere, but like, you know, how much do they sort of guide you or like advise you in a career that is sort of very new to everyone, right?
Obviously, because I'm a lot younger than them, you know, they have more life experience.
Right.
So when it comes to things in terms of practicality, I have to look to them, because they have way more exposure than me. And you know, even like I struggle a lot of times when it comes to dealing with people, you know, and like interpersonal relationships, because I don't know if you can tell, but I'm quite introverted.
I was saying so.
Yeah, so in that sense, I think they play a huge role in my life, and also otherwise also. So yeah, very grateful to them, and yeah, they're my rock.
The pillars, right? And but yeah, when you just mentioned that, how hard was that being modeling aside, but the acting, the Bollywood, the, you know, film industry, being an introvert in that, you know?
So not so much in the introverted sense, but I think I struggled with just confidence-wise, because obviously I was very young and very I had no exposure to that. You know, it was completely out of left field. So, and also like for your first time to be working with people that are already so established, I feel like nobody talked me into feeling that. I just talked myself into feeling that. You're pushing myself into that hole of being nervous, and you know, like, and I think to a certain extent it's understandable, because again, you know, like debuting with like really big names. So in that sense, I was very nervous. But when it actually came down to it, you know, during the shoot or, you know, after the film and things like that, I owe them a lot as well, because they made sure I was comfortable in every sense, you know, and it was nothing like how I thought it would be, you know, like where I would have to, I think like I would have to overcompensate myself, like my
because they're
like way too experienced. So it was nothing like that. And it was a really good experience for me.
So coming back to sort of the religion, the faith aspect of it, how big of a role is that playing in what, you know, you were saying, like, it's sort of, I think, much needed to keep you sort of grounded in an industry like that, where many things might just be myth and, you know, gossip and all, but like, you know, it is an industry where a lot of things can go sideways and all, no?
I think the biggest role where it comes into play is, you know, like you said, staying grounded. When, and this is partially advice also for people who are listening, if you want to get into this industry, you have to really know your intentions before you get into it. Because if you are getting in with the wrong intentions, it's so easy to go south. You know, it's very easy to get swayed. And I've spent the better part of my career also denying the fact that it's not like that, or, it's actually just a lot of hard work, and, and it's very grueling and it's very repetitive at, after a certain point, but, it's also, it has its upsides of being glamorous and,
of course.
All that. So I think it's really important for people to know, what they actually want. Yeah, what you actually want. And once you have that set, it's, you're good to go. I think, and for me, in that sense, religion has really helped me pull back and really, look at things from a different perspective, and, make me realize that things are not always as they seem to be. People are not always as they seem to be, but just, I think, do your best and keep yourself outside of that, I think, yeah.
For, like, someone young, again, like you, and to be in that field of, modeling, and that also on big shows, like, the international ones, like the Milan Fashion Week and whatever, the other big ones, and also to be in or at least have had a chance to be involved in the film industry and a big movie at that. And with all that, I'm sure there must have been a lot of challenges that, and some things that you also may be uncomfortable to talk about, or not like open to talk about it, which I understand. But with all that being, said and done, I feel like you have this thing where you carry yourself off very well for like a young lady. So like,
thank you. I hope I carry myself well for an old lady also.
But I think you're doing a good job at that, and being like in that industry, in those industries, I think that's something that's very commendable. Another thing when I asked you, like, what are some of the things you're interested in talking about? And you said representation, which we did touch on a little bit. I'll just give you a chance to speak about it, but quickly before I lose this train of thought, like when you were talking about diversity and like when you got into the modeling career and it was already accepted and all, I was just thinking when you were talking about that, like, about how anyway you've already experienced it, but even I think that, like, the roles at max would be for people like you, very stereotypical roles, right? And especially now with the whole world having this need for diversity included and all, sometimes wouldn't you feel like it's like you're getting a role
not you're because the diversity hire, basically.
Exactly, right. So
I think, when it comes to modeling, I don't think I would, it falls under diversity hire, because at the
modeling.
End of the day, I think it's because it's mostly all print. You're seeing someone like that, on like a piece of paper, on a
right.
Yeah, on a poster. But I think that term really comes into play when it comes to acting, be it in films or, TV series, because that's when you're really given the chance to portray a character. And if you're portraying someone that really has no dimensions and really has no depth at all, then you are, even if you have the right intentions, you are misrepresenting someone.
Right.
And that is, that's very dangerous, because like I was saying, if you're misrepresenting a certain character, then you're misrepresenting the entire
community, of course.
So that's something that I think, even if you're getting into representation with the right intentions, it's the execution that matters a lot.
100%, 100%.
Yeah, so.
And what's your take on this? Like, globally, it's like pretty much, like, I think everyone can say, like, it's safe to say it's very, prevalent now. But like Hollywood, with the push of like the need of diversity in every, and there are memes about it now and everything and such. But like even to the extent of Oscar, like some movies have like, stipulations where this many have to be of this minority and whatnot. So what do you think it does for like the credibility of?
I will never devalue the efforts that have been taken towards this cause,
of course.
Because I think it has come a long way. I mean, even until I would say the past decade, the changes that we've seen, even in India itself, it's been tremendous. But after a certain point, I think it's absurd, because you're not giving people the opportunity that they deserve, because there's someone else,
exactly,
who's there for the photo op. So I think, when you're talking about that sense, I think a lot of critical thinking has to come into play. You know, you have to be able to tell apart which is
I totally get that. So like, I mean, I would hope to see you in the future in like in a movie, obviously with a role, like, you know, a role that has substance, but where your background or ethnicity or is not part of the character. I mean, like, you know,
it's okay if it is.
It's okay if it is, but that shouldn't be the central, you know, or shouldn't be the only thing that has you in the movie, right? So, but now about the other aspect of representation is like, I mentioned earlier that there are obviously a lot of Nagas, male, female, young, old, who are representing us on the international stage in many different walks of life. But they are very few. I'd say like it's quite limited. So someone like you who is doing a very good job, you know, your resume is getting more impressive as it you know, as your career progresses with the modeling, with acting. Obviously, it's been the one movie, but it's been like, you know, a big movie. So, representing us as, you know, like Nagas, the community, your tribe, whatever it may be. How do you look at it? Like, from your personal point of view, like how much baggage maybe is that for you, or do you take that in stride and like, I need to?
I think the sad truth is that even in our own country, people are a little unfamiliar, you know, with us. And when it comes to international terms, it's understandable also.
Yeah,
you know?
more or less non-existent.
Non-existent. So wherever you go, you are inadvertently representing where you come from. But I think at the beginning of my career, obviously I wasn't representing anyone or anything because I was just, you know, a 16-year-old. But I think only after a certain point of maturity or after establishing my career further, I realized the importance of representation and, you know, the importance of why our culture needs to be respected and appreciated. After I got to like what we're talking about, diversity and things like that, being on posters, that's when I really got to know the depths of what it actually does to people, because I've received so many, you know, wonderful messages and comments from people, you know, and like saying things like, because it's still, though there have been models before me, it's still a pretty new thing, you know, to see people like us on the big screen. And so a lot of appreciation in that sense as well. But I think we have a long way to go still.
Yeah, I think like soft power is one very good tool that we have, like, you know, whether it's the musicians, the actresses, whatever, artists who can sort of be ambassadors of our people in a positive note, you know. If you look back, like, just like when, no, I'm old, but like when I was young and like a few decades ago, you couldn't picture Nagaland as a tourist destination.
Yeah.
Everything the mainstream media would say about our place would be insurgency, terror, don't go, no-fly zone kind of thing. And now we're here at this point where it's sort of like it's becoming a tourist hub, you know, must visit kind of thing. So we have to appreciate that, but like the role of you guys, fortunately or unfortunately, it comes with the job, right?
It can be quite a heavy cross to bear at times. And that was what I used to feel when I was younger, actually. But eventually you have to come to realize that when you're given the platform that you are given and the opportunities you are given, it is a responsibility and you have to use it wisely. So, I think...
And you should cherish it also. Like, you should like, you know, like take it as a...
Yeah, like not to always, you know, be pessimistic about it, but really, you have to be really grateful for all the things that life and God has given you.
So one thing I wanted to ask you, like, I know this also, you just said it, like even in India, there's so many people who are not even aware of us as a people, our culture, this, that. So like, which is very unfortunate, but like, it is what it is. But when you go abroad, like you said, most of them have absolutely no idea about it. But the few that do, what is their sort of image or their perception or their, you know, knowledge of us? Like,
I think people tend to look at us as exotic beings that live, you know, like amongst the wild.
Yeah,
the wild. But it's true to a certain extent.
But it's also not their fault, right?
Yeah, but it's like, the thing is, that's something that really sets us apart. You know, that's something that makes us unique, that, you know, our culture and that our identity. So I've never really felt the need to, you know, say something else to change their mindset about these things. Because it has never been negative internationally, you know, like in the country, yes, but outside.
Yeah, it's like more like fascination.
Yeah, more fascination and, you know, as if like, I won't go there, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I sort of don't blame them because when we do sort of project our culture, when we try and promote Nagaland tourism and all, images are of what? It's not of people just sitting like this, dressed normally. It's that, the whole thing, you know?
I have a funny story to tell. Actually, I hope he doesn't watch this, but I have an acquaintance who was asking me about visiting Nagaland and, you know, asking about how it works and, you know, if there's an airport and things like that. And it was like, oh, is it true that I can't carry too much cash? And I asked him why, and he said, oh, because the locals will loot your money after you land. And I was like, wow, this is really the image that people have of us, you know, like waiting around with spears in hand outside the airport. So
yeah, it's unfortunate, but I think like people like you should be taking that role of, you know, being an ambassador of Nagas. Like I said, there are quite a few, but it's still a few. So like take it as a challenge, take it, enjoy it, but like spread the word about us, like let us not be non-existent in the world, you know, however tiny we may be. Just some personal things about you, like, you know, with a hectic lifestyle and all, what are some of the things that you're that take up some of your free time that you do get, like?
I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Okay.
Alarmingly, a lot of true crime
documentaries,
like
kind of.
A lot of that, every time, you know, I have like some spare time somewhere in between, I'm always listening to about how someone got murdered, and it's actually quite alarming. But a lot of that, I'm a huge conspiracy theorist. Yeah, I don't know how well that aligns with my religious point of view.
We need a separate episode for that, because I'm one too also. I'm into.
But a huge conspiracy theory is all about, you know, like extraterrestrial life and dimensional traveling. I don't know. People are going to think I'm stupid for saying this, but
It's good to express yourself. I don't think we should, of course, not to go like all the way down the rabbit hole, no, but I think it's good to express ourselves and not be sort of worried about what other people would think. As long as we know that we are thinking sensibly, and it could be right, it could be wrong, it could be true, false, whatever it is. But
open. I feel like, another
be
thing.
Be open-minded a little bit, right?
True. I think everyone has room to grow. And even when it comes to personality-wise, I feel like the moment people think that they know enough, or the moment they start taking themselves too seriously, that's when you
they become
really
ignorant.
Tap, you tap your growth. So always consider yourself a student for life.
Yeah, for life. We have to keep learning. Like, I mean, there's so much that we don't know, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
you can't deny anything.
You can't deny anything. But anyway, I think we should have that as a separate episode. That'd be pretty interesting. We'll both practice, and then, will that be something? So, besides that, what else? Like, do you like, I don't know, your food? Let's
like
find out some things.
Yeah, I like K-pop quite a bit. And that's why, you know, going to Korea was a huge deal for me.
A big thing for you, no?
A huge deal for me. Still pinching myself. What are my other interests? I love, you know, watching films. I spend a lot of my time, K-dramas, shows, regular 22-year-old things.
What about, this is going to be a very cliche section, because I'm just like, I think people will be interested, and I'm just curious also, like, what about food? Like, what are you, like, home food or?
Naga food always. Yeah, like wherever I go, I'm carrying suka mungso in my bag.
And what about people like trying your food and stuff? Are there any takers?
I feel like other Indian people are more open to that. I feel like, you know, when it comes to European people, they're not too keen on.
Because it's quite drastic, not the change or that.
Like, they eat very bland food.
Yeah.
So. Another thing I wanted to talk about when it comes to Europeans is like the culture shock I got when I went there and, you know, got into the modeling industry in Europe for the first time. Because So I was there for fashion weeks, doing castings and things like that, and how people would just, I don't know, expect you to. They're very open Europeans, and they were just like in front of a room full of people, no judgment, of course, but they were very comfortable with themselves. Like no one really cares, but they were just like undressed like that, when they're changing into clothes and things like that. So there was a
like
huge
normal routine kind of for them.
Because in India, that is a sense of boundary that people really respect, like not all the time, but like mostly, before they touch you to fix something like, in your skirt or your shirt or something, they always ask.
Permission. And,
but there it's just a way of life. Like no one really expects anyone to do that. So there was a huge culture shock I got when I got there.
So we're winding up now, getting down to the end of the conversation, but there are a few more things that I'd like to touch on. And one thing I'm very curious to know about is what's your take on us as a people, like as a community, as a race or whatever. What are some of the things that you appreciate? Some of the things that you wish we were a little different at? The pros and cons of from a 22-year-old model, international model. What's the viewpoint?
I think there are very few other communities that rally up as we do when the need comes. But and that's something that I think everyone needs, when you're venturing out into doing things that are not too traditional, when it comes to career, things like that. People are very supportive and they're there for you, they're backing you up. But at the same time, I feel like something that, honestly, to be completely honest, that Naga people can work towards is to be able to discern when your opinion is required. Yeah, I feel like it's okay if you don't have anything substantial to say. It's okay to take the back seat. You don't have to give your 2 cents into everything, and that's been something that I try to practice as well. It's not, after a certain point, if you're not saying anything substantial, it just becomes noise. So I think that that's something that people should have the ability to discern when your voice is required or not. I think when it's regarding something important, obviously you should, but beyond that.
Yeah, that's quite a common trend these days, unfortunately. But just on your thing about the thing that you appreciate and what you liked about, I do agree that, when the need arises or when a situation happens or whatever it may be, we rally together. But at the same time, for me, it's like this, the one thing that troubles me the most, and when I look at us as a people and all, is the tribalism and the division between us, even though we are one people under the Naga umbrella, whatever. But however many times we may rally together behind an incident or this and that and all come together and, show that solidarity. At the end of the day, when that fizzles out and we, resume normalcy, that's where you see all the cracks and divisions between our people. And it's quite sad. Like, I don't know, that's my thing about.
In many ways, we are still very aggressive. We still live and we're still bound by these things that we have built ourselves.
Right.
Why is one tribe considered to be more superior than the other? There's no sense to it. Again, in that sense, you should have the ability to discern also that it's just noise.
Yeah. We should be proud of our culture, proud of our roots, proud of our clan, village, everything.
The individual aspect to it. But at the end of the day, we're all Nagas.
Exactly. Yeah. And like we said, take a step back, zoom out, forget the Naga, Indians, Asians, humans at the end of the day, right? We're just all human beings in this world. Okay, so almost at the end now, the penultimate question would be, what lies in the future for Andrea? Like, what are you looking at short term and also long term, like career wise, as your own personal dreams of, like.
In the next few months, I have some things lined up. But beyond that, just more, I think, international traveling. My next pit stop will be New York.
And that's with like modeling, right?
Yes, modeling. So I'll be there, I think, for a couple of months and we'll see how that goes. Long-term wise, just taking it as it comes. I think that...
Just going with the flow, kind of.
Unfortunately, for me, who likes to plan and schedule things, just going with the flow has always worked out for me. So that's just how I'm taking it.
Okay. And what about, where does, just quickly, because these are the two things that I think, I feel like are part of your thing is like the acting, the film industry. Where does that figure in your sort of future plans, and how much like you said, you're open to it. So like how much would you sort of push for it also, like from your end, you know?
Push for it. I think, like I said, right now, prioritizing modeling because
for sure.
of the long hiatus. But if the opportunity arises, you know, like I said, whatever comes my way, give it 100%. So.
Okay. So it wouldn't be like, there wouldn't be, I'm sure there are some like dream roles in your head, you know, like you'd want to portray this kind of character or something like that. So there won't be any sort of like lobbying for it, like to get some.
I wish, I had, but if the opportunity arises, I'll be standing outside the director's door begging for those roles.
And then your studies, because you said like after this year you're going to complete your yeah, right, and then after that you want to take up your master's again. So does it end there, or is that something you want to just continue, even though that's not going to be like related to a career, you know?
I think with my bachelor's as well, I don't think it has. I mean, it doesn't have anything to do with my career. But I think I've always been someone that really values education. So, you know, I think, not to sound too philosophical, but I do like, you know, to study. So
keep learning.
To keep learning. So in that sense, I think, just keep that going. Hopefully master's goes well. I don't know where life will take me from then on, but
Okay. So I think we're now officially wrapping up. As I always do with the other guests, 2 quick messages. One would be to, you know, family or friends or loved ones. You can just give a quick message. And the second message is to the Nagas in general. So, for example, if every Naga was tuned in right now and listening to us talking, what would your message be to them?
The message to my family and my loved ones, I think the biggest thing would be to say thank you for always supporting me, backing me up, and I don't know, just supporting me through all the dreams and wishes I've had in the past year. It's been a wild ride, I think, for me, but luckily I've had you all to keep me grounded.
Okay. And then the next one.
To the Nagas. So to the Nagas, also a message of gratitude for all the support, the love I've had. It's not easy to, you know, be given these opportunities and to always be doing the right thing, but you guys have really made it easy for me. So thank you so much.
Okay, so now we are officially at the end of it, about to wrap up. Thank you once again, Andrea, for, you know, deciding to come on the podcast. It's been a pleasure. I'm very grateful to you. And I enjoyed the flow of the conversation, I hope.
Yes, 100%.
Okay, that's nice to hear. And like I said earlier, very proud of you, of what you're doing. And I'm confident, and I'm can't wait to see you, you know, scale new heights and bigger and better things in the future. So please continue to be a shining ambassador for our people. All the best for the future. And thank you once again.
Yes, thank you.
Hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. See you on the next episode.
Yay, thanks. Thank you so much.